What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds. And glad to have you guys back, man. It's been a little bit of time, but we have some exciting news for you guys. Obviously, everybody's seen and heard, and whatever you've thought about the Book of Boba release, which we'll get into today. We're gonna switch gears a little bit and give you guys a news update. It's been a while since we've really done one of these episodes, so before we even start getting all this fun stuff and where we've been the last couple weeks, let's go to our man DP and let you know where to find us at for all our new listeners.
As a reminder, make sure you are going to nerdcyclopedia.com. That's where you find all our links to all your favorite social media profiles that we are on at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, and also on Instagram. Make sure that you are joining our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS Star Wars group, right on Facebook. We are commenting, and also having discussions on everything Star Wars, related on there. Make sure that you're leaving us some feedback. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We're on, we're submitting, getting feedback and, spitting it back out to you. You let us know what you think and we'll let you know what we think of you. All right. And also make sure that
we don't filter that one. That one comes out 10 to 10.
And make sure that you guys are, if you're listening to us on podcast, that you're subscribing to us at Apple Music, Google Play, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere that you listen to your Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there.
Appreciate that. And like I said, guys, so happy to be back. It's been a whirlwind of a couple weeks, but it's good to be able to talk Star Wars, and I look forward to this every week. So I've been sad the last couple weeks, but it's glad. I hope all our listeners have been just excited to get back as we have, because I've been kind of chomping at the bit. We've been chatting offline and whatnot. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this. I know this is DP you wanted to lead with. So before we even kind of delve into parts of it, what are your initial thoughts on the big release today of the Boba trailer?
Well, how about we do this? Why don't we play the trailer and let's react to it?
Let's do it.
If only someone hooked that up earlier, we'd be in good shape. All right. Here it comes. I'm excited to premiere this here for the first time ever on a Nerdcyclopedia podcast, the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett. Here we go.
I am not a bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise. I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer. Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial. Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
What prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want?
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please, speak freely.
Well, guys, there you have it. A little Christmas gift from Disney and LucasArts to us. So thank you, Lucasfilms and Disney, for the early Christmas gift.
Oh yeah, that was I did not expect that today. That was like when I first seen it, on social media. I'm like, what? Okay, so yeah, let's get into this, and when we get back just talking about Star Wars, we were going to talk about strictly like the Galaxy's Edge stuff, but I mean, this ain't like a bonus. So I loved it. I thought it was everything. It's making you it's a good palette. Not so much a palate cleanser, but giving that good bridge to the next Mandalorian season. And it's what a lot of people wanted. Like they wanted a movie of Boba Fett, but we're getting like a series or at least a mini series of Boba Fett, and like his adventures. So I'm loving it. I think it's great. It looks beautiful. It looks polished. Looks like some extended Mandalorian stuff. I'm excited.
It seems that Boba Fett may have done some serious thinking while in the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, because that's not really his style, right? He's not a focus on me type of guy. He's more like, let me work in the background, leave me alone, let me do my thing. I mean, that's always been the draw for me to Boba Fett, to that character. Like when I first saw it in 80, I saw him in 1980 on Empire Strikes Back. He was just, you know who he was. He was a mystery. He was a loner. He didn't take orders from anybody, and nobody ordered him around. He did a job and he moved on. So for him to all of a sudden become a leader like that, I think he did some serious soul searching in that stomach, and he must have been pissed off with the acid or something, and it just like got into his head, because it looks great. Like you said, it's polished, it's clean, it's got that same vibe. A lot of pandering, Bomar Monk right in the opening sequence of this thing. I mean, already I'm engaged, but I'll have to see, how do they do that? How do they develop him? How do they develop Boba Fett to be a dictator? Sort of like a leader, a powerful leader. It's a little odd.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was my initial thoughts when I saw that trailer kind of come out. Like, I don't know if Disney's going to try to play him as like a anti-hero, kind of like almost like a leader of a rebellion, because he says he really doesn't want to be like a dictator. He wants to have the people to kind of have a voice too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, the new regime. And we always talk about political meanings and whatnot, kind of like a switch from, where you thought the Empire and where the galaxy was headed to Boba coming in saying, I want to hear your opinion. I want to listen. Your previous leader would have done this and that, and I'm here to allow you guys to have. So it'll be different, especially the way you govern, I guess, the black market, the underworld. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be a really interesting take. As you guys said, I really saw the attention to detail, even in the opening LucasArts text that has like the Boba camera showing and whatnot. So, I mean, it's obviously a big production. It's their eyes seem to be on it. We'll get into this a little later, but it's really the focus for this year leading into next year with some of the things we're hearing about the Mandalorian coming out that aren't too good. So I think they put a lot of eggs in the basket, and once again, Filoni hasn't swung, and on a strike. So it seems like everything he hits has been a base hit. So hopefully he keeps it going with this show.
This Boba Fett stuff is it's not exactly the plot of what happened in like the old expanded universe, but the idea that he would come and challenge and there'd be stuff going on at Jabba's palace definitely was something that was explored. And so that was some of the best stuff, in my opinion, was Han and Boba Fett and Jabba and the crime lords and, all that stuff was some of the best stuff in the EU. So seeing it incorporated here and given a new life in the Disney universe is really, really very interesting to me. Boba Fett seems to be, wanting to unify the crime families after they fractured after the Empire. The Emperor was in charge of all the crime families too. Like, that's what we're finding out, is that the Emperor didn't just run the legitimate government, he ran the black market as well. And so after the Emperor died, there was a power vacuum in the black, on the black market too, the same way there was with the government. And so we see all these different, pretenders have rushed in to fill that vacuum. Even Vin DeBoner, right? We saw that at the end of Mando season 2, right? So that was an excellent dethroning. So I'm excited to see what they do with Boba Fett. I feel like if you told me again a couple years ago, look, there's a Boba Fett series coming out in 2021, I'd be super excited about it the whole time. I'd be waiting, anticipating, anticipating this series, and to see The Mandalorian function the way it should, which is like as a proof of concept for this show, and to see it create and generate the energy and enthusiasm from the fan base and the plot energy to start this show means that it was a success regardless of what happens next to it. It could be a 2-season show, and if it ends with Luke Skywalker and the battle droids and then spins this off, and all of a sudden we get Boba Fett on our TV like 8 times a year, on top of all the rest of the stuff that we're going to get that's we haven't even touched on. I think that's something to be really excited about. And, it definitely doesn't look like they're skimping on the scale here. There were some shots, some of the vistas and the cityscapes that were enormous and had excellent scope. One thing that I think is going to be interesting as we see these newer series that come out how is Dune going to affect them? And I think one of the things that Dune did, and we'll talk about this later, is it had this sense of scale, this sense of immensity, and that is something that I hope Disney brings forward into Star Wars as like an extra influence, right? I hope we get some more of that. Exciting trailer, right? Boba Fett is in the original pantheon of the great characters of Star Wars. Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, R2D. Like that's the original like huge canon. So to see this get explored is very exciting to me. I'm tingling. I want to see it. And you know what? He's not going to play it straight. He's not going to just, be Mr. Goody Two Shoes. He's not a Jedi. He's going to get things done. And I think we're going to see some interesting action. I'm excited.
And it's interesting that you brought up about Dune, because Dune, the new one, is sort of a combination of what Star Wars had, and you sprinkle in a little bit of Game of Thrones, and the politics and the families and it really explored how big those things were. That the first movie, the one in the 80s, I think it was late 80s.
I could only do so much back then.
Touched on it, but this one's big, and I think it is big because they're able to do that now with special effects, the painting and everything that they needed to do with the digital media. But also, like you said, this Boba Fett series is also going to do that. We're going to see Tatooine not as just a planet. We're going to see all these cities in detail, which I saw and Trenton did, right? Galaxy's Edge. You walk into that place, you are there. I mean, you are in the Star Wars universe. So I see why Lucas said Disney's the best place for me to, lend over my passion, because they are going to do it right, and they do it right. So everything that we're going to get from them is going to be good.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this bridges the Mandalorian, because for casuals coming into this, they're really trying to define what's the difference between Boba and the Mandalorian, Mando, Din Djarin and everything, I mean, sure, seeing like the series and stuff, and they may gradually get some of the concepts of Mandalorians and, like their history and culture and stuff. But we know Boba wasn't really a Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, his father was, but I mean, he says it 15 seconds into it. I'm not a bounty hunter, so I mean, what we thought of him
bounty
also
hunter doesn't necessarily say he wasn't a Mandalorian. Okay, so it's still trying to bridge and define the differences between this show and what we see with the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I think we'll get another. I think we'll get another cliffhanger, because I don't think he's going to say he's Mandalorian either. Because I mean, remember when they found him, he kind of alluded to he's just a traveler. So I don't think he really believes in the Mandalorian Cree. He's not a bounty hunter. I think we're up. I mean, and if you've seen everything that Filoni has done to this date, there's always a kind of big shocker, and there's some kind of revelation. I think there's going to be a big one in this series. I don't know what, but something tells me there's going to be another revelation of something in this series. It's going to be eye-opening. But to your point as well, DP, as we said, and me and Hitch have said this. I mean, this is Reset 2.0. Whatever anybody thinks, the final trilogy, these shows, as you see them building, because this is building beyond 7, 8, 9, or 4, 5, and 6. This is a clear reset button, in my opinion. The way he's setting up the underworld. I mean, this is, if you can't see Filoni's resetting what Rey in that series was, I mean, this is a clear reset, in my opinion.
I feel like this is the type of series that has to get made. This piece of this story exists. Like, this has to happen. I feel like if you're ticking off the boxes, this, like, Western style, you know, anti-hero crime story is so interesting and is so baked into the fabric of the, you know, the original trilogy specifically. All of this is based on stuff that happens in episode 6 and, you know, the end of episode 5. I mean, Boba Fett has Han Solo frozen in carbonite and has him on his ship. He captures Han Solo in the midst of the, you know, the big set canon movies. So this character deserves a lot of attention, and it seems like it's going to be a story that will tell us a lot about the person of this character, because we've discovered from watching the Clone Wars that Boba Fett has this long history in the underworld, right? It's not short. You know, he's in prison during the Clone Wars. At like 14, he's running like heists at 14 years old. Mm-hmm. So this long history, and it's a character that deserves to be explored more. Ever since the character was introduced in the very worst Star Wars media of all time, the Star Wars Christmas special, everybody's wanted to know more about him.
Easy. It's not the worst.
Hold on a second.
Easy.
Let me ask you a question. If I had to give you an over-under on how many B. Arthur songs should be in a Star Wars show, how many, like, where would you put the over-under and which would you take? Because 2 is too many.
At least that's a tough one.
Yeah, she does 2 songs in that show. 2. And listen, you know I'm a Golden Girls fan. I'm not here to bash the lady. She's very talented.
What we're going to have to do is watch it and then do a review on it, because I think if you dig into it and see what it was for the time it was released and what it was trying to do, I think you'll accept it. I mean, it's got a whole Clone Wars vibe. You know, they were trying to get a different market. They were trying to grab new people, and they did it the best way they could around Christmas, the holidays.
There were seasons of the Golden Girls where B didn't get that many songs.
Hey, don't do that to Petrillo. Don't do that to Dorothy Petrillo, buddy.
I'm not talking bad about her. But the context, first of all,
Golden Girl, you know,
Kashyyyk is not Miami. It is a very different climate. You know, this lady was, Dorothy retired to Miami to live with her mother, and maybe she does celebrate Life Day. I don't know. I'm not here to discriminate against the mystical religions.
So I noticed with this trailer, you see a lot of Boba like out of his helmet. Okay,
right.
How do you define to a casual viewer the difference between Mando and Boba Fett?
Well, I mean,
how do you clearly define that in this show?
Remember, for a casual, first off, you have to explain to him that the Mandalorian armor that Boba wears really isn't Mandalorian armor. I mean, it's Beskar, but it's not Mandalorian because it was partially part of his father's, but it was kind of just armor he collected and used. To Mandalorians, the Beskar, and I believe most Mandalorians you can't paint it, so that's another thing. Beskar always shows you can have a symbol on it, but his is fully painted. But it is unique because they're taking a take on Din, which is then, you know, you can argue is he a member of Death Watch who are not traditionalists, who show their face, you know, and so it's like you're right. It's a weird dynamic for a casual because there's all different dichotomies that kind of make up both of these characters and how they view what a traditional Mandalorian is. Kind of like we view politics or religion or things like that. So it is interesting to see how they're playing it. I was shocked like you are, as much as his helmet's going to be off, you know, kind of like every other scene he's taking it off and like trying to show his face, or I don't know. So,
but shouldn't they need to pump this guy's face up though, because he's the face of the clothes, he's the face of the Bad Batch, he's the that's his face. I mean, you can't get away from the fact that Tamora Morrison is the face of the like he is. So no matter what you do, that's a face that's going to be around in Star Wars literally forever, because there's millions and millions and millions of copies of him running around.
Man,
including Boba Fett.
it'd be some crap if like the clones show up and
Hey, you know what I was going to ask you, DP?
yeah.
What if the cliffhanger is you see like an older like Omega or something? I'm telling you, man.
Well, that's who they're missing, right? Who's
That's what I'm
the
saying.
shady force behind the underworld that he's fighting is his sister, and she's just like, hello. But she's really cool. She's laid back. He's like, you want to govern with respect. I'm going to govern with love. And it works.
You know,
I don't know why. It's because she's good.
Yeah. Filoni, I think there's an ace somewhere hidden in his sleeve. I'm telling you, something's gonna.
I feel it coming. I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
Because there's no way Boba doesn't know them, right? I mean, you feel like there's definitely going to be some of this between those stories. I mean, for sure. So it would be rad. I think it'd be good. Old men, they're just like all decrepit in exoskeletons.
Yeah, I'm loving everything I'm seeing about it. You know, I'm interested to see how. I mean, next year, 2022 is going to be year of Star Wars on Disney Plus. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So much good, good content. Hopefully good content and everything. On there. I mean, a couple other tidbits we didn't even cover. How about Hayden Christensen showing up on Ahsoka show?
Yeah, that's big news. I mean, there's a lot. They're putting a lot of eggs in the Disney Plus basket. I mean, we're seeing that, on the other half of them as well, moving around dates for Marvel. I think Disney's writing this year off, so to speak, even with the way they're releasing and launching the Boba series in the next year fiscally. I mean, they're literally putting everything into 2022. I think it's going to be a huge year for Disney. Not going to tell you what to do, but I mean, if you're a stock buyer, hint, hint. I mean, there's a lot of eggs going in the basket I'd load up on because this is going to be a big year for Disney. I can see it. The releases, what they have planned. I mean, the only thing we can say is when's the first strike? And this is a side note, but we're hearing the rebuttals of these first viewers on that. What is it? That Eternals movie and how it bombed or whatever it's going to do. I mean, Filoni has yet to do something that you're like, will it come? Is this the series, or we're going to keep the train rolling? I don't know. That's the devil's advocate. I'm thinking like, when is we're going to get the one that you're going to be like, I don't really know, I'm not sure on.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's so far so good. I mean, that's the great richness about this universe. That it's just so much story that could be told in mind and everything. And I'm just so glad, I mean, to repeat it ad nauseum, that this is just not the Luke Skywalker story. I'm glad we, Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever, the higher ups, finally got that message that, okay, this is more than just the Skywalker, story, even though he's beloved and, his family's beloved and everything. This is so much richer, with the different characters spread it throughout the universe.
Deeper stories, more, and what's interesting about that's part of a broader trend in our culture to want stories with more viewpoints. We want broader, more experiential stuff. I was thinking about, back in like Star Trek's day in the 60s, right? When they were like, if we got someone from all over the world, the whole world, right? And they were like, we have a British guy, a French guy, and a Russian guy, the whole world. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we'll get an Italian next year. Maybe we'll get one. But you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see how we want different things, right? How that has caused like a change in the types of stories we're getting from Star Wars, because they're much more varied, way more genre differentiation. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about what they're doing with the variety they're putting out. I think when we started about a year ago, and that's the other thing maybe we should mention, is we've been doing this in this configuration for a year now. It's been a whole year we've been doing the Carbonite BS.
Happy anniversary, right? Fellas.
So it's been a whole year. Anyway, long time. There's a lot of exciting things going on with Star Wars. I think that Marvel is in for maybe somewhat of an adjustment. We'll see how Spider-Man does. But I think that when you look at what they're doing with Star Wars and how they're going to basically be attacking every single line, like every single piece of the timeline at once,
right?
Pretty much. They're advancing the overall story in a way that feels like a serial chronicle, and that is true to the spirit of Star Wars too. So it's not just like the letter of Star Wars, not just the branding of Star Wars. It's that they're bringing that, what did I call it last year? That spirit of 77.
Right.
That spirit of the original Star Wars. And if you told me there were a bunch of crime bosses and cool armor blasting away at each other on a TV show, I'd say that sounds to me a lot like Star Wars.
Yeah, they are finding ways to tie everything back. I mean, even in the animated series Rebels, I mean, there's always little, there's new stories, but then they always pull back, whether it's a phrase, whether it's something about the Force, whether it's a mention to the Skywalker family or astromech droids or something. There's always a tie back. So as long as they keep that vibe going, you can put as much new stuff out and spin the stories any way you want, as long as you
keep that
fall back to the original in some way.
Yep.
And I don't even care how they do it. It could be a musical theme. It could be a familiar ship, something like in the one of the last episodes of Rebels I watched. I swear it was an Outrider. It was Dash Rendar's Outrider. It was like just shown in there, which went back to Shadows of the Empire, which calls back to Empire Strikes Back. So as long as everything keeps doing that, then they've got a good recipe going. The minute they start to like branch off and make it its own thing, I think they'll lose a little bit of, not credibility, but I think people will start to, I don't know, it's all right. Like you were saying, T-Mitch, like you were saying, like, is Filoni going to fail? Is there going to be a clunker? Oh, that could be a clunker if he did that.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, I mean, they've been stayed true, and maybe that's what the formula should have always been, whether it's this or Marvel or any series, stay true to what it is and kind of follow that path. It's already there.
100%. Yep.
Sometimes I think these producers and these executives just sometimes push the envelope too much or try to go left field when they should have went right, and you have these clunkers, so to speak. I mean, Hitch has alluded to it as far as history. We've had with Ahsoka, I'm sure that'll be more like the traditional Star Wars kind of Ronin samurai, just based on her fighting style and how she is. So we'll get back kind of the Ronin theme like we got in her episode. This is more of your kind of space cowboy, kind of outlaw type thing. So I do like how they keep these, and it keeps me interested because it's not like even DP who came in as a neutral. We're not just getting Jedi. We're not just getting Jedi. It's not just the Force all the time. There's interesting ways to explore the whole universe and keep other people, kind of intrigued and enthused to talk about it because, how many times can we talk about the Jedi? We haven't even talked about the Sith yet or Sith lore, which can come with the Acolyte and whatnot. So that'll be another facet of things that literally Star Wars outside of the EU has never really discussed in that Sith history. So
true.
Sith history. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of places for them to go, man. It's exciting for them to see them like branching out and doing the genre type stuff. And it's nice to see them try to see all the little formulas that they had done in the the old EU novels that I liked work again, done this way with money. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I'm glad for the fans. They've been clamoring about a Boba Fett something for a long time, and finally we're getting something. And hopefully it looks good in the trailer so far. So hopefully the series, comes through.
And this will be so much better than a movie, right? Just like one movie. This is, I don't know how do we know how many episodes? It's like 13, 14 episodes.
I'm not sure. I was told it was like 6 or something. It was like a limited run.
It would be 6 to 8.
Yeah. It's like a mini series.
How Mandalorian was. Mandalorian was like 6 to 8, something like that. Yeah.
But they were packed. I mean, those episodes were.
Yeah, it was a lot
chunky.
going on.
Yeah.
I think Disney series aren't. It seems like just series period nowadays. They don't go for the whole like extended long season, 13, 15 episodes and stuff. You get you get in there, get out. As far as like stories and stuff. Especially Disney stuff. It seems like their episodes are max maybe like 8 to 9 episodes. You're not really going past that.
I love it. But here's the thing: in the old days, you had to reach a certain number of episodes to get the syndication, where you would really get the money. And now that's not the case. Disney already got the money. They're not sending. They already have it. There's already a production. You know, they don't have to put a bunch of filler episodes.
Disney is the syndication. I mean, they don't have to say. They don't have to answer to anyone. They do what they want to do, and they do it well.
Yeah, and it's not like you can sell this like syndication, selling it to like the local localities and stuff. You could keep this going in perpetuity. All the time, so long as someone's subscribing and stuff. So,
and think about what people have paid for the rights of that content, right? That popular content that's existed. I mean, it's billions of dollars per series, and they're just producing it, and they don't have to worry about distribution. They don't have to worry about cutting in the advertisers, cutting in the networks, cutting in the localities. Having to get Winn-Dixie to sponsor it on Thursdays, because everyone remembers when they'd see like this episode of Rizzoli and Isles is brought to you by Winn-Dixie. Stop on down. Everybody's seen those on the local TV. We got Century 3 Chevrolet in Pittsburgh, right? Everybody knows that jingle. I don't even have to do it. You just heard the whole thing in your head. If you're born within 100 miles of the city of Pittsburgh.
And I mean, and you're right about it. It's easier for them to go to their own investors, their own board, and say, this is what we want to do. This is the money we need. This is your return. Rather than, as we said, the movie format before that Lucas had to pitch to Fox, had to pitch to whoever, Lionsgate at this, whoever it was, that, hey, I have this movie. This is the money I need. This is the money I can potentially get to you. Disney already knows the numbers. They already have the set sheets. They have the financial analysts. They know what they're going to make. It's, how much, it's getting to the point, literally, how much do you guys want back? And that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary at this point.
A Netflix, like any one of these streaming services, they have our data. They have all the data, like when you press the button, how long you watch the episode, how many seconds to the second, okay, this works. And they can tell and actually dictate, the content that comes out based on like all the data, all the demographics and stuff, as far as all that. Disney, Netflix, they have all that right in front of them, which they don't really necessarily have to deal with like any Nielsen ratings and everything. They have all that in front of them and can dictate how much they're going to spend and how worthwhile it is to spend the money to keep us subscribing to their service.
Because that's all that matters, right? Is what they're saying is, look, these nerds have a podcast. They're not ever going to cancel Disney Plus, ever. So look, I'm telling you that I can take the $15 this guy's going to spend on Disney Plus in June of 2027, and I can borrow money on that now, and I can get that big, huge hunk of money and spend it on the content that I would need to keep Sam subscribe to this in that month. And I can justify doing that now because it is essentially like, if you guys saw Hamilton, this is basically what Hamilton did with me with the debt. Is he said we're going to pass taxes and pay for it. That's how it's going to work. Yeah. It's basically, instead of staying on a per ticket instance per movie, Disney has now converted to this other formula, which is like a funded debt, where they're saying, we don't know much, but we know that these guys are good for $180 a year for the next 10 years. That's $1,800 per person. And we can invest that now and know for a fact that even if nobody else subscribes to this, these guys aren't going anywhere. And so Bedrock style, we know we're going to have that much money. So, when the debtors come to Disney to pay off these bonds that they're going to float based on this income, they're going to be able to. And if what Disney has done is grown their subscriber base beyond that they can sell this bigger, like, now all these subscribers aren't going anywhere, right? Because they've captured us all. Now they can say, okay, 2035, how much more growth will there be by then? And they can spend that money, right? They can get that money through loans. It's a crazy structure. It sounds like a Ponzi scheme, but this is just how commerce works with it, where everything flows through, right? A bunch of times. It's a really interesting business paradigm. And one of the things about it is that, you can lose a whole lot of money and still be profitable. Look at NBC's Peacock last quarter lost $520 million. And they're saying that's successful. So, you know, the money is, it's not that there's money there now, it's that there's going to be money there. It's weird, right? You got to think fourth dimensionally about the subscribership. Anyway, sorry, I think about this stuff too much.
Yeah, cool. I think families will be passing, like I'll pass my subscription down to my children, and then their children will pass it down to their children because they're growing. They're basically my children are growing up in a household with Disney Plus, with Disney.
Yeah.
Let's say Disney decided that they wanted to build a literal like Star Wars experience in space, literally in space, and the amount of money they needed for that was ungodly. And they came to you and they said, Ken, for $1,000, I will give you a lifetime subscription to Disney Plus. Now think about that for a second. Maybe that deal sounds crappy. I'm not saying that that's the number, right? But let's say the number makes sense and you buy it. That takes all of the months of subscription that was going to be doled out to them over that time and pushes them all up front.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that they can go about.
Yeah, that's what Sirius did.
Right.
Sirius did that when they took over XM. I mean, they did.
Now everybody just watches TV membership. In their cars.
I bought in. It was $500. I have Sirius satellite forever. But they used that money, those 600 billion people that bought it, to build their infrastructure, to get the equipment out there, to build up their status, whatever they did with it. So that totally makes sense. Disney wants to put us in space, like for real. That's how they're going to do it. Lifetime subscription for $1,000. I'll buy it.
I can do that with park access. They can do that with everything. And the thing is, they have the numbers. I mean, they're going to know by then how long they have. How long is the life cycle of the copyrighted character? They're about to find out. As soon as they know that, all the amounts of money that will come from these products that during their exclusivity becomes a finite number that they'll know. And so the only way to increase into like extend the longevity of these properties is to introduce new elements that then could no longer be used in the copyright. So if you, for instance, like go to Sherlock Holmes, there are pieces of the Sherlock Holmes like character that became available first. So you could have a pipe, then the hat, and then he could be, doing the Hounds of the Baskerville stuff. Like that became part of it. Then like the Moriarty stuff became it all happened gradually. And that's what's going to happen with all this stuff. So if you say, this series is going to be worth an average of, $10 billion over the course of its run over 100 years or however long that ends up being, you can then make this series and buy, like you can buy all that out. You can buy money. You can get money based on that collateral. So it's a really, really like, interesting new frontier as far as money.
And real quick, thanks to Sunnycast for joining the chat. As we all know, all our viewers, you can comment on the chat. New member here, Sunnycast. So, hey, thanks for tuning in to us, and I hope you're enjoying your evening with us as we're enjoying it. But just to switch gears before we go into the park thing and, the theme park of where we've been the last couple of weeks here, do you guys find it a little interesting? I mean, we obviously understood and Hayden Christensen was coming back, but now we're seeing him working with Ahsoka. We're seeing him being more and more involved with LucasArts. I mean, I'm saying it now. It's going to be sometime next year. There's the Vader series is either. I think they're filming it. I mean, I know they're filming it with him. They're going to keep it quiet, but I think we'll see Vader in 2023. I'm calling it now.
Okay,
and that's what we want. I mean, why else?
Nobody's mad about that.
That's what we want. That's what I want.
Why so long? Why so long out? Why not?
Oh, because 2022 is packed probably. I mean, unless they do some crazy things for, what's the Super Bowl in January? I mean, who knows? Maybe that's a Super Bowl. I mean, a big thing. But, I mean, for him to be so involved with all these series, I think that he's a lot more involved with Lucasfilms this go-round than he's ever been. And I look forward to seeing that announcement coming within the next year or two.
So I guess my question with Darth Vader, how does that fit with, I'm even questioning with the how is it going to fit with the Obi-Wan series and everything? Is he going to be dressed as Darth Vader, like, and just take his helmet off every now and then? We're going to see this, like, just crazy look, as far as him him.
I mean, it's kind of unique as you say that, because depending on when Obi-Wan, the time series is, which is, I believe, after everything, yeah, you can't, because technically his head was burnt, so he can't take the helmet off because he can't breathe. I mean, the
Right.
exoskeleton in the suit keeps
He's
him
not like
alive.
Boba Fett. He just can't take
Right.
the helmet off.
Right.
So, yeah, that is interesting. I mean, and at the point where they had Darth Vader, I think his anticipated height was like 6'10" or something. So that's not Hayden's height. So I don't know what it is with him working with LucasArts, but the fact that he's involved is cool to me. But yeah, you're right. Kind of interesting, that he's back as.
How would that work if proposed Darth Vader series? Like, how would that work with him and Darth Vader?
It would go backwards, I believe. It would go more of his kind of Sith artifacts. Him on Mustafar, we would find out, as me and Hitch and maybe Ken knows, that he actually took his wife, which I'm getting a brain fart now.
Padme.
And he buried her on Mustafar. So her actual her body is on Mustafar in like a ceremonial kind of like a temple. So I'm sure they'll go into that stuff, which it'll probably be a step backwards in the timeline, but it'll fill in a lot of lure from a lot of EU fans, a lot of traditionalists. So that's the only way I think of it, because you can't go too far forward because we know the ending. So I think it'll be a film.
So
what is he going to be looking
bring
for?
The body back? They didn't bring the body back from Mustafar?
It's on Naboo. They must have stolen it from Naboo, which is really gross.
So that gets into a whole thing too. Like
it is, yeah.
Like, is Darth Vader a grave robber or what?
Well, the Sith are so invested in the corporal reality of life. You know what I mean? That's their whole bit, is that they don't want to die, and so they he probably was scheming on trying to do Bride of Frankenstein stuff with her, right? I mean, gross. Ugh.
Okay. They can leave that. That would be a clunky.
Well, I didn't mean like that. That's real gross. That's not where I was going with that. I just meant bring her back to life. That's pretty messed up in itself. Oh, yeah. But what can he find? Palpatine lied to him, right? He's going to discover that Palpatine tricked him, and that's probably going to make him, I don't know, likely to throw him down a big pit.
A big shaft.
But he does. I mean, and they allude to that Padme's grave in the novelization of Episode 7, of when they went the thoughts of Mustafar and where her body was and everything, and they even wrote that in some of the original scores of the original sequel trilogy about going to Mustafar and what Kylo had learned and whatnot. So, interesting take on that. Even more interesting about the whole thought process of Vader itself is, like you're saying, when does it fit in exactly? How do they portray him as Hayden Christensen as his character? And more importantly, as we know now, and we can kind of get into this, there's a bigger release about, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but the full backstory of what Snoke is and how he came to be. It leaked on the internet a couple days ago. I should have brought it in the chat, but essentially Snoke is a bad clone, as we know, we cloned Palpatine, that he used, and basically he used his, force projection to basically make Snoke a puppet, which we all knew. So Snoke was a puppet version of Palpatine. It was a bad copy, which we've seen in The Bad Batch, we've seen in The Mandalorian, and
It was a copy of a copy?
Correct. It was a copy that was bad that they kept alive, and they kind of used him to build from the shadows, the First Order. And yeah, that's public records on the internet, but yeah, that's the backstory of who Snoke really is. It's just a bad remake or a bad copy of Palpatine, as they kept trying to duplicate him over the years. So that was interesting to hear about over the last week.
Interesting.
But before we finish off, guys, I know a lot of people probably been wondering where they've been, and as we see some people interacting in the chat here, it's really where we've been is a couple of us have decided to make the journey to. Originally it was Black Spire Altos, now it's Batuu, but a couple of us went to Galaxy's Edge, and I've been there 4 or 5 times. I know General Tar-Ken has just went, so I'll let him lead with his initial review if this is his first time there to get his thoughts on it. I'll give you guys my thoughts, and we'll see what our other 2 members think about it as well, because I am a lot. I probably have a lot different opinion on what Ken's will be, I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I just came back, spent 4 days at the Hollywood. Well, I spent 1 day at the Hollywood Studios on the other parks. for me, walking back into the Galaxy's Edge section, I mean, the way Disney does it with the audio track and the just the environment, and everything is real. It literally put me into the Star Wars universe. I mean, it was done so well. We got to the park in early, about 9:30. We went right to Smuggler's Run because that was a big draw for myself and my son. We wanted to fly the Millennium Falcon. And I'll tell you what, you walk into that thing, and if you've been there, you know the awe and just I had to touch everything. I was like, is this real? I mean, this is real. This is like, it's stone, it's metal. I mean, everything is done so well that it really puts you into the Millennium Falcon. You're flying it. You're sitting in the chairs. You're looking at the chessboard. You're looking at the control panel where Han was trying to fix the hyperdrive. I mean, it's just immersed in the whole thing. The cast members, and I talked to my wife about this. Are they fans? Some of them, I think, are really fans, and they really are. You know, when they were given the option, where do you want to work in the park? They wanted to work at Galaxy's Edge because it's so different than any other environment in any other park. I get that feeling that, you know, just the way they immersed you with audio hints and music playing. Everything was just 100% on point with what I felt like it was going to be. I mean, they even had the trash cans matching. Like if there were trash cans in Star Wars. Like I never saw anyone throw anything away. I also didn't see anyone ever litter in Star Wars. So trash cans, and if they had trash cans on the Death Star, this is what the goddamn trash can would look like. Right? So as a fan, as an old like vintage fan that's kind of grown up with the whole thing, and I enjoy seeing it still in our society as a really strong, popular element. I mean, this was a slam dunk. They did it right. The buildings, the food, the costumes that the cast members wore. I mean, just everything was just legit. The environments and the experiences we had were just spot on, and so glad that we did it. We're planning another trip in November now. You know, so
see, look at him. He's added up like me.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it just, and the kids loved it. My son, who happened to, we'll get to that when we built our lightsaber. He's the only one out of, there were 12 or 15 people in the building area, each with a guest. He's the only one that picked the red blade.
He's my guy because I have a red kyber crystal over here. I'll show you. So yeah, I have a red blade as well.
I'm looking around. I see red. I see his red. I see blue, green. I picked purple because I'm a Mace fan. Also,
I would have picked purple for Darth Revan, but
yeah, I could pick the purple blade, and my son picks the red blade. It was like, wow, it was great.
Yeah. So I mean, my thoughts on it are echo yours. I guess the negative to me is, so as a Disney fan and as a theme park fan as a whole, the problem with Galaxy's Edge is Bob Iger was too late before he left to the IP world. This should have happened years ago with all these theme lands, whether it be that Toy Story land. You saw what Universal's done. I will say Hogwarts is better than Galaxy's Edge, and that's me being a Star Wars fan. There's way more as far as the Wizarding World. I just think they put it in the wrong park and they landlocked it. As we go in there, I love the theming. I felt like I was in Star Wars, like you said. Great experience. I don't care about the cost of things, the price. I love how they say credits, by the way. When I first went in there to buy something, they were like, so credits. Like, you're just in awe of how everybody who works there, whether it's somebody cleaning up the trash cans, whether it's somebody in the food service line. I can say that's one of the only places I've been to that everybody's literally enthusiastic. They love it. You know, it's a lot of jobs. There's people like, but everybody there is always in character. It's always fun. we saw a couple. It wasn't a rainy day, so we actually saw a couple of the stormtroopers floating around and stuff. And with the pandemic kind of easing up, they're allowing some of the character greets and whatnot to kind of pop around. So that was fun. The whole experience on Riders Resistance, phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. The way they're always in character, the way they interact with you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think it was landlocked. And then, like I said, when we talked about this, and when I came onto the show, the big thing I always thought about, and the issue is there's just not enough for kids to do. Like I'm in love with it. I think Hitch DP, but if you take your families there, there's 2 rides and there's a ton of spending money, and it's a nice. It looks great, but for me to take, like, say I had like a, I don't know, 8-year-old kid, they're not going to do anything because it's literally not enough for them to do. And that's where I think the Wizarding Worlds in Harry Potter, how it's split into 2 lands and there's a lot more space, there's just a lot more for them to do. I think it's a giant adult playground. And that's maybe where Disney kind of missed the boat a little bit, because for me, I'll sit in there all day, but as a family member, you're taking a family in there, it's not the greatest. There's not enough to do.
Well, the droid we built built the droids. That was definitely kid oriented. Although, I built my droid, my son built his droid. The lightsaber, Olga's cantina.
Yeah.
The kids.
How many sour sarlaccs did you have?
How many what?
Did you drink the sour sarlacc?
No, I had a yub nub.
Wow.
If you go to Olga's, you have to get a yub nub in this Endor mug. You see this?
Yeah. I've drank the milk, and oh man, but no, I drank a couple. I think I had 3 sour sarlaccs, and good thing we didn't stream because I was it's an alcoholic beverage they serve. It's like a lactic alcoholic beverage, and geez, I was feeling myself.
Yeah, and the guy, our cast member, our waiter, was, because I was playing to all these people. I was trying to catch them. I was trying to be like that nerd. Well, I am a nerd, but I asked him about the laser blast that were on the wall, and he said, "Well, there'll be no shots here except the one that you're drinking." And it was the name escapes me, but it was strong. This thing was legit. Like, it was a shot. It was really good. And that and the Yub Nub pretty much made my Rise of the Resistance experience that much better.
Exactly.
That was like, wow.
Oh, I'm still in awe of the giant AT-ATs or AT-ATs, as people call them, whatever they want to use with the new terminology now. But yeah, to me they were great. But what do we? I got the Rey lightsaber I was going to show you guys, so I did buy another one. It's actually, the qualities are really good. So I will say that this is the heaviest lightsaber. They don't tell you that. It's in production. It's fun though. It's nice. I wanted to be black like the movie edition. That's like my only drawback on it. But the quality of it, it's nice. And also for Ken and all our listeners out there is an issue with the Savi's Workshop lightsabers. Your batteries will die if you do not remove the kyber crystal. So just because you turn it off, it will still dissipate energy. You have to take the kyber crystal out of your hilt if you don't want the batteries to die. So that's like a little hack that I found out this time that I didn't know. And then this one also lights up the blade. When you put your blade hilt in there, it lights up yellow. So that's like one of the only ones. You can't buy a yellow blade or a yellow kyber crystal, but this kyber crystal allows it to become yellow. So cool toy I bought. I have a couple of the Savis I've done. I wish I did an elemental one now that I look back. So when you guys Hitchco, when DP you go, somebody has to make an elemental one, because that's the one I should have did, because one of my my custom ones, they're both like kind of dark side looking ones, like Anakin remakes.
That's actually the one I picked for myself. The elemental natural.
Oh, you did one? Yeah, I should have did that. I should have did that.
So I like the.
Hold on.
Right.
Hold on, buddy. Hold on. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
That's better.
Yeah.
So this is the elemental natural, which I liked. I picked the leather strapping on the hilt, and it.
Ooh.
It's got nice, and it's pretty heavy. I picked the heavier emitter.
Right.
I wanted it to just be beefy. I want, when I'm wielding this, I want to feel like I'm holding on to something.
Yeah.
So And what's nice when we go back, I'm going to get the other two, and we can take
Yeah.
them all apart and make like some crazy ass.
I need to go get my blade.
So, this is mine.
We're here now.
It's okay. This is a safe space for these things. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
We're here
ladies and
now.
gentlemen.
So we're here now.
He wasn't going to get outdone.
No, we'll do that. We'll do it. Well, my actually, this one's dead, so we'll use the new one. So, but yeah. No, I like him. When he pulled that out, I was like, you hear that noise, and it just makes you like excited as a kid. It does. So for all you Harry Potter fans, that little wand you spend $60 on is nothing compared to this. So spend your $60 otherwise. It's funny when you go to purchase these, and my wife saw the price. You know, when you build them, when she found out how much I pay, you know, it's one of those things you just swipe your card and kind of just try to hush her up.
You scan the band.
Swipe.
You scan the band in yellow.
So, yeah. This is the yellow one here.
Oh, that is tight. Wow, that is
So,
tight.
yeah.
Oh.
So the colors are good. And Sam, this is making you want to buy one, I know. So let's sign them up.
Oh.
So that's the yellow color. So I like it. They're cool.
This is the one my kid built.
Oh, that's like mine, yeah. So that's exactly the one I built. Look.
And
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. Isn't that crazy? We built the same exact one. Except your center emitter is a little different, but yeah, no.
He did the control and destroy.
But,
It's still so decent that you guys can actually build those instead of, I mean, you know, you have like regular ones that are bought as is, and you can't do anything really, you know, too much with them, like light them up and stuff. But that looks like authentic and like really like there was some work actually put into it to justify consuming this price.
they're up there a little bit. I mean, like I said, it's one of those things. I didn't care.
I went to Disney in 1996, and my dad let me get a Goofy that was like this big. So I guess, you know, Disney's figured out some stuff in the last 25 years. About how to get juice it a little bit more, right?
Whenever you're buying Galaxy's Edge buying, just don't let your wife see the price. Or whoever your significant other is, do not let them see the checkout price.
We don't run it up too bad.
Just keep swiping.
It all goes on the band. You just scan the band and you get it. You know, it's like nothing.
Scan the band and then you get it.
Yeah, magic band, and when you get home, you just figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out. You're like, you know, whatever. Tell the grandparents to pay for it.
Right.
All right. Now, before we sign off, it's only fair.
Oh man.
For us to talk about what me and Sam were doing, since you guys were
around,
you know, in Florida and seeing, you know, going to Galaxy's Edge and being immersed in Star Wars. Sam and I took a trip to a different sort of magical fantasy land, Homestead, Pennsylvania, and we saw Dune in IMAX last Sunday, and it was an enormous movie. It was humongous. And it was the type of movie that I definitely am glad I saw in IMAX. So that's what we were up to.
Yeah, Dune, it was real good. Dune, that was really good. They cast everyone. Paul Atreides was great. The Baron Harkonnen, I had no idea that that's how you said it because Harkonnen was the way I only heard it ever. Harkonnen. So that was interesting. But that character I felt needed to be grittier. Because the Baron Harkonnen was a real dirty guy. I mean, this guy would just he killed people left and right. He was weird. He was perverted, and they didn't really go there. But maybe in the next one they will. So the next one's God Emperor. So they've got to really build him up a little bit for me. But that being my only critique of that movie. It was good the whole way around.
But yeah, guys, I know we gave you some bonus content here again, and like I said, it feels good to be back. I've been like chomping at the bit. Even when I was at like Galaxy's Edge, I'm like, man, like, and it's weird because obviously we have our channel, you know, and with YouTube or how we kind of distribute it, you have to be funny because YouTube, if they hear certain audio background, certain YouTubers are allowed to stream live there without being cut. you're allowed to show certain things that are being cut. So it's kind of like a weird thing where you are in the YouTube space and what they allow and what they don't. So um, I still plan on giving you guys content from the Star Cruiser. We'll figure out how we can get it to you and how we can show things. But
So
yeah,
you're going on that? You spent the
I'm going on
6,000?
that. Yeah, they're booking us. We're just booking to another week or whatever. But yeah.
Man.
I mean, hey, like I said, you just don't let them figure out what it costs.
Got to make a couple extra deals.
Hey,
It was already out
that's
there.
all
but I
that
couldn't
means.
hide
You
it.
know what I mean? Yeah.
At T-Mitch, at the end of the day, you got the memories. You can't put a dollar amount on that, right?
I guess if that's what you're saying.
You definitely can't put a dollar amount on
You
a
don't
happy
need
home
to
life
know
either.
how much you're
So you
talking.
have to really think about that.
Yeah.
That
You
is
just
a
know.
priceless thing.
When I
You
saw
just don't
that,
wanna-
when you check out and see it, it hurts. I'm
But
not gonna
then
lie.
again, but then I'm thinking to myself, but this is a lightsaber from Star Wars. This isn't just something I picked up at Target.
Yeah.
Right,
Did you see
right.
that? Did you see the one that they are having on the Star Cruiser, like the authentic that I guess you hit it and it emits or something. It comes out. You saw that trailer, right? For
It's
the
an
IP
actual
press release?
lightsaber that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can kill people with.
They did some when they did the
actual
It's an actual
Makes-
weapon. You
It really makes $6,000 seem kind of cheap when you think about it that way.
You need a carry license for this thing, buddy.
Yeah. The guns
Only in Florida, right? They can only do this one in Florida.
Yeah, only in Florida. Everywhere else, you can just
only in Florida. Oh my!
It's like a Star Wars squid. It's like a Star Wars squid game. They're gonna let people joust to the death in there, and so it'll be fun. But like I said, appreciate everybody tuning in, and just like we typically say every episode, until next week, guys. This is the way.
This is the way.
Wait.